It is the game of the weekend in the Six Nations, I believe. I don't think that's disrespectful to Wales, France, or to Scotland, Italy, but Ireland against England in Dublin. Absolutely massive game, and for both of these nations could go a long way in dictating their whole Six Nations. A win gets them off to a great start. A loss, in particular for England, would lead to quite a few more question marks, more concern, more doubt, all of that sort of stuff. So welcome back to the channel. This is my final preview for Ireland-England. Cannot wait for the game tomorrow. Six Nations gets underway tonight, so welcome back to the channel. Whilst you're here, like the video and subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. Give me your predictions, give me your previews, give me your thoughts on Ireland against England. Where is the game going to be won? And what stands out to you when you're looking at this from a tactical point of view? I've got a couple of bullet points I'm going to go through, but what stands out to you? What's going to be the real deciding factors? Based, I suppose, upon the team selection. So before I get into that, if any of you watched my video yesterday when I reacted to the Ireland team news, I said in that I have been flip-flopping this week. I can't work out, I can't get my head around where I think this Ireland team is. And maybe I'll get onto that in a minute, because I could say a similar thing about England. Different, I suppose. I think England were in a pretty clear place at the end of 2024. They'd gone backwards. From where they were at the end of the Six Nations, after beating Ireland, almost beating France away, and France probably should have. Fairly unlucky call at the end of that game for the late Ramos penalty. Plus also where they were in the Tour of New Zealand. England went backwards in the autumn. They were in a disappointing place. They were a side that couldn't close out games against the top nation. But at the same time, what I've been questioning with England this week is, I think Steve Borthwick as a coach, even though he has been criticised, I think he's clearly a good coach. He clearly is so devoted to putting game plans together, having an eye for detail. Is he the sort of coach, and is this England team the sort of England team that can peak for a one-off game? In particular, when it's at the start of the Six Nations. Like, is it that almost a bit like what the 2019 World Cup semi-final was for Eddie Jones's England team? It was the game they had been building for a long time, had worked out a tactical plan specifically for that game. And I just wonder whether there's some element of that this weekend for England. Have they been able to work out a plan, knowing they were heading to Dublin on the opening weekend of the Six Nations, and have a plan that they can execute that really troubles Ireland? I suppose, to bring it more recently actually to Borthwick's England, you'd say the same about the World Cup semi-final against South Africa in 2023. I know they lost that game, but they got a hell of a lot closer to the upset than many people expected. So that's kind of one part of what I'm thinking with England, and particularly because it's Borthwick in charge. On the other hand, I'm thinking, how much are they going to have really been able to change from the end of November to now? And you do see it. You see teams start a new year, start a Six Nations, and look incredibly different to what they did previously. And I suppose if that is the case, the question is, have they found a way of getting over the line against the top nations? Because that was their problem, particularly in November, and actually even on the summer tour to New Zealand, that game against France in the Six Nations last year that I mentioned, continually getting close and not quite being able to see it out. Have they learned? And if they have learned, maybe things will be different, because they weren't that far away. So I've got all of those ideas going on with England. I'm kind of jumping around a bit, but I think a lot of you will understand where I'm coming from. It's one of those things where you can easily find an argument for why they won't do it. And then there's also just these kind of lingering things where you're thinking, well, maybe if this and this. And likewise with Ireland, as I said at the start of the video, I've been similar. And as the week's gone on, I've started thinking, are we all underestimating Ireland? Everyone's talking about France. I'm talking about France as the favourites, and I still stick with France being the favourites. But in doing so, are we underestimating how good this Ireland team is? Or is it fair to question them? Off the back of the autumn, Andy Farrell not being there, all of those reasons that I've spoken about this week, is it fair to question this team? And I think probably both of those things are true, you know. I think we are possibly underestimating them, but it is also fair to question them. But it means, what are they going to be like in this Six Nations? Are they going to be the team that have dropped off a little bit? Or despite the fact that they dropped off a little bit, they're still capable of winning 3 in a row. I think a number of things could be true, and I can't wait to find out what it is with Ireland. So those are my more general thoughts on both teams and why I'm finding it so hard to reach a judgment on this game, because I think there's a lot of things up in the air. All right, anyway, let's speak tactics. I've got 3 things in particular for this game. I want to talk about the breakdown first of all, in particular with England having Tom and Ben Curry in their back row. It's been spoken about that this is an England team now, and this selection is a reflection of the fact that they are trying to play faster, more dynamic rugby, because it's a lighter back row. They don't have Chesham there as the kind of line-out option. So they're playing faster. That's true. I just still come back to the breakdown when I look at this selection, more than necessarily pace in the game. It is a back row, in particular your flankers, that can compete on the floor, which is an issue with the English Premiership. There is less competition on the floor now. It is a great attacking league, but it isn't as fiercely competitive at the breakdown. Steve Borthwick's spoken about this. I think he's looked at that. He's looked at what the Premiership is and what it isn't compared to international rugby, and identified that the Curry boys could be a real nuisance at the breakdown, plus obviously, you know, the physicality and athleticism that they both bring. And I know we all know about Tom Curry. Ben Curry, by the way, has been in superb form for Sale this season, and actually very, very good form for longer than that. So I'm delighted that he is getting the opportunity. And the twins, imagine that, twins, and you're starting together for your country. It's awesome. So I think the breakdown's huge. Line-out is what is the next thing I've got written down, and I think where the natural progression really on this argument and England's back row and the selection is the line-out. What does it mean for their line-out? Particularly, you know, with Byrne and Van der Fleer can get up there, and Dorris. And the Irish line-out hasn't actually been great. It wasn't great in November. But what England's selection means, and whether it leaves them short in terms of the line-out, and how Ireland go about at that set piece with Paul O'Connell, you know, the kind of, it's a battles within a battle, right? That's what it's all about at test match level. And the Paul O'Connell Ireland line-out with that pack of forwards who are exceptional, going up against Steve Borthwick, who we know is a great line-out mind, detailed coach, as I say, and Maro Itoje now as the England captain, and those 2 4-packs, and that area in particular, I think could be key. Is it a weakness of England? Have they left themselves too short? They say they've come up with a plan. Are Ireland able to get an advantage in that area? And then the final thing I've got written down is the kicking game. In particular, James Lowe's return to the Ireland team. That left boot, particularly for how they exit, is huge. And kicking in international rugby now, as we know, is huge because of the way in which the laws have been changed. There's more competition in the air. You can't protect the catcher as much. You have to let the kicking team come through. So I think that is big. And I think for all the talk, again, of England wanting to move the ball and play at pace, and I know they will try and do that, I also think they're going to kick a lot and they're going to be tactical because they know that they have to be. They have to try and be against this Ireland team. I can't see England coming and simply running from everywhere and moving the ball and putting pace into the game and moving it wide off first phase all the time. I still think it will be a pretty sensible tactical approach, and they will try and do all those things when the opportunity arises. And the kicking game with Freddie Stewart at fullback, James Lowe back for Ireland, it's really fascinating at the moment, isn't it, because of those law changes and how it is now different. Yeah, it's exciting. I think it makes it so much harder for back three, by the way. Like, getting less protection is good. I know I was at Penny Hill, the England training base in the autumn, and asked George Furbank about this. And he was like, yeah, it is incredibly difficult now. The final thing I wanted to mention is how much do England target Sam Prendergast? Arguably the headline team selection in the Ireland team, in a way. We know all about his potential, how much they like him and favour him. But do England really try and get into him? Like both of those Curry boys, you can imagine lining him up, which was something that Sexton was so brilliant. When teams tried to target Johnny Sexton, he was excellent at getting the ball away, dictating the game, and it not really bothering him. So is that something England do? Can they get under his skin? Or are we about to see the maturity, the quality of this young man and why he is viewed as Ireland's future fly half? Let me know. Give me your predictions for the game. I think it is brilliant because you can make a case for either team. I still struggle away in Ireland to see anything other than an Ireland victory in terms of my prediction and where I'm going. I obviously hope I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be brilliant. I think it's going to be brilliant. How do you see it? Give me your predictions, let me know, and any other tactical stuff I haven't touched upon. Like the video as well, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Enjoy the Six Nations this weekend. See you in the next one.